One of the things I knew I would have to do is pull this cabling wiring out from the switch as well as the lead to the motor. So I disconnected the lead that came in the back to the top of the motor, to the top of the switch, and then obviously the cable connecting the bottom of the switch to power. Because I know in order to rewire this, because this is switchable, I don't know if the light will pick it up, but it is 115, 230, and this is the diagram to switch the wires from one to the other. But in order to do that, I have to get into this box, and I'm not going to try and do that with the motor mounted, so I know that I'm going to have to take this beast off. And if I'm going to take this beast off, that means I will have less weight to work with. It'll be more manageable. And in looking at all of this with the, again, not abuse, just age. This is, 1950. This is 75 years old, 74 years old. But I will pull the bolt and then pull the pins on both sides and figure out a way to take this out. I've seen a bunch of videos and such on how to do it. So if I'm going to take the motor out, I might as well take the trunnions, clean them up. And if I've got them out and taken apart and cleaned up, I might as well paint them, which means I would have an empty cabinet because everything has to come off in order for the trunnions to come out. So if I have everything empty, I might as well paint it. Couple of facts. So again, 1950 on the saw. These cables, again, saw's wired for 230, single phase 230. And the gentleman that I bought this from, this is the original cables that were attached to the switch, the modified switch, modified in the sense that it doesn't have the original parts, the locking ball, which I'm going to find and replace. But pull this out, and this, again, something you probably don't see too much of, made in USA. I don't know if you can make that out. I always find that cool, stuff that's made in the USA, because so much isn't now. So made in USA by Eagle. So this is Keeper. These are Keeper cables. Some people might say, oh, they're old and useless. No, chop that off, and I'll bet you, chop either ends, and I'll bet you there's some freshness in there. So I think that's a keeper. This cable weighs 2.5 pounds. This cable's rated at 600 volts. Where did I see the text? Where was it? Now that I'm looking for it, and I have it on camera, I won't be able to find it. This weighs 14.5 pounds. Obviously, this is, something to do with it. Again, this is Eagle, made in the USA, and this looks original. This looks like hacked end. This is by Pass and Simu somebody, 50 amp 230 volt. But this is just a monster. For those who grew up in the 70s and 80s, you might remember Monster cable for your stereo systems, and this was it. And I recall seeing something where this was stamped made in the USA as well, but Murphy's Law says now that I'm looking for it, I'm not seeing it, so I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But this is a Keeper cable too. Oh my God, this is, just look at this. This is, how thick is this? This is 3/4 inch diameter. Just amazing. Simply amazing. Another cool thing about the saw was this particular blade that was on it. Blade looks almost brand new, literally. Not too many cuts. 32 teeth DeWalt Construction general purpose blade that is currently selling at the Orange Big Box shop for $39.99, so $40 blade. So that was a nice toss in for the saw. So these will go to storage because I don't need them now, and they take up a lot of room and they're heavy. So we will say goodbye to these for now. 75 pounds. That was a little bit of a bear to get out without damaging anything. Pin was a little rusty. I'll show you the parts. Rusty pin. Very rusty cotter pins or clips for the ends. Solid, solid. That is what 1950, 74 years of yucky sawdust looks like. Let's clean that up a little bit. That's a bit cleaner. So it looks like we've got, and it looks like the ground is hard to tell. Yeah, so it looks like we've got 2 whites, a black, and a green for ground. All right, I'm gonna peel off the tape and see what we got. All right, so very interesting. So it looks like what we've got here is inside the motor, white to white, so it's looping back. Then we have a green from the motor going to black, which to me is hot. And then we have black from the motor going to what looks to be, I'm not going to say white, but you know, of the 2 colors, you know, if that's hot, I'm gonna guess that's the neutral. So yeah, interesting. I'll have to do some reading before I plug anything up. The plot thickens. All right, so the picture on the right is actually my motor, which is the same picture on the left, only you can see the print. Here it's stamped, here it's printed, but it's identical in terms of the drawing or the imagery. So when you look at this particular configuration, you have red, green, black, yellow. So I have black, green, but these 2, one of them's supposed to be yellow and one's supposed to be red. Yeah, that's not, I don't know how to tell that apart. So the red and yellow are wired in a loop, closed loop. So that means this is correct. One's red, one's yellow. And then the black and green go to power. And it looks like green goes to black and black goes to whatever color this is. Interesting. Very interesting. So if anybody knows how to differentiate between yellow and red, and the reason I ask is because when you go up here, the combination of green and red, so green and one of these, and then black and yellow. So yeah, I don't know which one of these is red and which one of these is yellow. And when I get my new cord, I'm gonna bet that there is a black, a white, and a green. So if anybody knows how to wire this 74-year-old motor correctly so I don't blow up the house or me or the motor, let me know. What goes to what on this particular drawing? The black and green are easy. Those are pretty obvious. It's the other two that aren't so clear. Alrighty, we are in a better situation. I had cut this lead off that was in here so that I could get to these wires. And when you look at, and I'll show pictures of what these wires look like when I popped the top and vacuumed out everything and took off the tape. And I apologize for the previous segments where I was all over the place trying to hold the camera and look at something, and I realized not only was it too shaky, it was all over the place except where I needed the camera to be. So we're a little steadier today. But I think I've shown this before. Mine, a copy with black letters instead of stamping, and the wiring for 230 was red and yellow, and these two that look almost identical were red and yellow. And I checked the I pulled out the multimeter and checked the concentricity so that I knew which were in pairs. And it was supposed to be as simple as, you know, take apart the red and yellow and then attach red and green and black and yellow and then attach it to, you know, my power leads. Much easier said than done, because when I use my DeWalt, which is a kind of a yellowy light, both those cables, the red and the yellow, look the same. They're just nondescript. So I posted in a Unisaw forum, help. How do I tell which is the yellow and which is the red, and does it matter? So I then went to a white LED, and the white LED clearly picks up the yellow, and the red is different. So this is definitely the yellow, and that's faded red. So probably take a marker and put some red on there. I took a label maker and marked one yellow, one red, and then put my leads together, strap this in simply because I didn't know how much force this would have when I turned it on, and I didn't want it jumping all over the place. So I was surprised at how smooth and quiet it was. Another thing of note, I printed the original manual, and the manual only talks about installing the motor and laying it on its side. So the motor, I don't know if I mentioned it, this is 75 pounds. I did weigh it all by itself, and it was very, very quiet. And we'll start it up here in a second. I've got it rigged up to a little pedal. Get stuff out of the way and plug it in. Murphy's Law has once again struck. So just as I was about to lift this up to demonstrate, my camera shut off because the memory card was full. All right, so we've got this strapped in here just so it won't wiggle around, because it's bulky, it's heavy, and it's interesting in terms of when I would put the Craftsman on, how much movement a 1 horsepower motor would or wouldn't have. So in any case, I will stop talking now and we will press this. And it'll spin down. I would imagine with the 3 belts, blade, and the weight, this would not take as long to spin down and be quiet. I'll tap it again here in a second. Very quiet motor, very smooth motor. And I'll be going to the hardware store to find some big ass cable, at least newer cable than this. But I mean, it's not jumping around on here. It's not, you know, fighting. And these, you know, these are just set in here. It's not like it's clamped, but it is strapped in, so it's not going to go anywhere. But you're not seeing any, you know, violent shaking. And I will check back here on the covers. I've seen a video on when you step it up from 115 to 230 or step it down from 230 to 115, you may have to adjust. I have no idea or can't remember what the part is called, but it is what kicks off that charge. All right, so that is that. Again, I'll show videos of, I had to bust out the soldering iron because each of these connections to this was not only twisted together, but then soldered. So it was a bit of a bear to get apart. But it looks like all is well. And now it comes down to finding cable. This is just my temporary setup. Finding cable and getting things officially set. So that was a bit of a bear, but it is now functioning at 115. So we are good. Hello YouTube. I did some rewiring. Or rather refastening. I had these two sets of threes connected, and that one actually came out as I was moving. These two sets of threes were connected by these wire nuts, and I found these Wago wire connectors, and I thought I'd give it a try because to me they seem to make a little more sense in terms of ease of use. And obviously this is kind of temporary wiring for me because this green cable is not a permanent cable. Not a permanent cable. And let me hook up a ground. So that things are a little less sketchy, and then we'll turn this on and see if these actually work. Back in a minute. So the test is for these two puppies. I've got my ground off to the side, grounding off to the cabinet. Let me plug this in. And I will press this and see if we have magic right here. Okay, so I like these. And I would imagine with the new belts and the weights, this would slow down significantly faster. One more time. And that is it. I like this a lot better than dealing with the wire nuts and having things a little better connected. So we will call that a win. And the Wagos are a win. And I will use these going forward. I like the convenience as well as the compactness. Later.